On this week's show, we meet up with award-winning songwriter Dan Weber, so stick around. Hey, welcome to Charlie's Open Mic. My name is Charlie Mosbrook, and on this week's show we have Dan Weber. He's an award-winning songwriter from Vancouver, Washington. Being a guy who lives along the Columbia River, you'd figure he'd be a big Woody Guthrie nut, and he is. He won the Woody Guthrie Folk Festival Songwriting Contest last year, and we are going to talk to him, but first let's listen to a song of his.
So y'all are fans of Woody Guthrie, right? You know, I said that once in, I guess I was in like southern Minnesota. It sounded just like that. Then one guy on the way back yells, "He was a communist!" Oh man, this is gonna be a long night. Oh boy. Yeah, I had the great good fortune to play the Woody Guthrie Folk Festival several times. And I got to meet Arlo, which was great. And I got to meet Mary Jo, Woody's younger sister. And we were backstage having lunch at the green room there at the museum. And we're all just sitting there eating lunch, and Mary Jo's telling stories. And she's just cute as a bug's ear. She's wearing like this Jackie O era rayon suit thing with a pillbox hat. She's telling stories. And all of a sudden, there's nobody left in the room but me and her. And she's eating a grilled cheese sandwich, and she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I didn't mean to be rude. Would you like a bite of my grilled cheese sandwich?" And I was, you know, I like to think I was raised right. I was an altar boy, an Eagle Scout, and a park ranger. Don't hold any of that against me. And I said, "No, ma'am." And then I spent the next like 12 minutes thinking, I wonder if Woody Guthrie's DNA is somehow on that sandwich. I might have like thought about having a bite. So this one's for Woody. Y'all help sing with me, would you? Thanks. Oh, they left Oklahoma in the grape charrette. In the Dust Bowl days, they never looked back. Oh, they never looked back. They're moving again. California's no longer promised land. Oh Woody, where are you now? What would you say? Oh Woody, where are you now? We could sure use you today. We're willing to work, there's no work to be done. Illegal or union, it don't matter none. 'Cause the Wall Street bankers, corporate greed, they shipped all the jobs overseas. Oh Woody, where are you now? What would you say? Sing it now. Oh Woody, where are you now? We can sure use you today, that's right. Now there's a drought in the plains and there's fires in the west. And it was the hottest summer on record, I guess. With a cough in their lungs, dried tears in their face. It's looking more and more like those Dust Bowl days. And I can still hear Woody with his guitar in hand, singing songs for the men on the Grand Kool-Aid Dam. Singing, this land is your land, this land is mine. Oh Woody, we sure miss you tonight. Now I'm living way out there in the great Northwest. So as long as it rains, may we be blessed. And it's long live the salmon, long after we're gone. Then it's roll on Columbia, Columbia Woody, oh Woody, where are you now? We can sure use you today. Oh Woody, where are you now? We can sure use you today. More than ever. Oh Woody, where are you now? We can sure use you today. Oh Woody, where are you now? We can sure use you today. We can sure use you today. We can sure use you today.
On today's show, we have Dan Weber. He's an award-winning songwriter from Vancouver, Washington. At least that's where he's living right now. I think originally he's from Western New York. Anyway, we're going to dig in a little bit and talk to him about his life and where he's at now and where he came from and why he does what he does. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hey, Charlie. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. You got an interesting story about how you got started as a songwriter.
I was a guy who picked up a guitar and played a couple songs in his basement. When I turned 40 years old, I'm like, I'm gonna go play an open mic just to say I did it, like bucket list. And I played it. It was like the worst thing I'd ever done in my life because it was a 10-minute slot, and the guy asked me like where I was from. He said I was from Portland. I'm like, well, I'm not really from Portland. I'm from Vancouver. And I'm like, well, I'm not really from Vancouver. So then I told like this 6.5-minute long story about where I was from into my 10-minute slot. See, I'd never done this before and I was nervous. So I just started talking. And the story thing is sort of that's my default setting. So eventually I tried to cram like a 6.5-minute song and was naive enough to like even attempt a 6.5-minute song in 3.5 minutes. And so it was, I was like, I'm never doing that again. That was pretty much it. And then I met another guy. I met him at a show that we were both at, and we became friends. And it turns out he was another guy who'd written like 2 songs in his basement. And so we started playing open mics together. He was like 50 and I was 40. And we'd go to these things and there'd be all these 20-something-year-old kids who were going to be stars when they grew up. And we just thought, it's Tuesday night and we can drink beer and make fools out of ourselves in front of 20-year-olds. Like, what a good time. And then just stuff happened. Like I played more, and then I met people, and people asked me to open up for them. And then some people told me about contests, and I entered some of those. And that was like 12 years ago now.
The songwriting contest that you said you got into, last year you won the Woody Guthrie Folk Festival.
Yeah.
You came in first place after having come in second place a couple years?
Second place one time, third place another time.
Okay.
And when people actually said, like, you should enter next year because you could come in first after coming in second and third, I was like, no, I'm not going to enter that. And then I actually got booked to play the festival like after coming in second and third. And then it was, I guess, 2 years following that I won first place with a song called Ever Since Columbine about mass shootings, which thankfully there's less of those due to the pandemic. It might be one of the few, wrinkles of positivity in the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've played there. It's amazing. It's an amazing place, Oklahoma. It's like it's one of my favorite foreign countries to visit.
I do wish Woody Guthrie was born in April or sometime other than the middle of July.
I always say they hold it the second weekend in July to keep the crowds down because
it's effective.
It's effective. It's so hot. It's a really cool festival. It feels like a family picnic that's just sort of run amok, like where a lot of extended relatives show up and people are up at all hours of the morning. And
the song you won second place, was that Oh Woody?
I think that got honorable mention, to be honest. I don't think it ever. I think it was the title to my last record called What I'm Looking For. I believe it was that.
Hmm.
It's a song about small towns, basically. I think that was the first year that I went there, and I got there, and I was like, oh, I get why this song like placed in the contest, because it felt like I had written a song like that was describing Okima in a way.
So has Woody Guthrie been a big influence to you?
It's like I have so many influences, and he's definitely one of them. A buddy and I took a trip once. I live half a mile, maybe no more than a mile from the Columbia River.
Hmm.
So he and I took this trip where our goal was to drive along the Columbia as far as we could to the Canadian border, then cross over and drive on the other side as far as we could back, and just go camping along the way, kind of thing. And all we listened to was Woody Guthrie for like 6 solid days, which which is a lot. But it was yeah. I've always loved his stuff, and as you know, I've been a deadhead for a long time, so that's how I was introduced to a lot of music, everything from Hank Williams to Woody to Willie Dixon, Elizabeth Cotton. If people ask about your influences, usually they want to know, like, who do you sound like? And for me, like, the biggest influence was that, because they as a band were this great melting pot of Americana, as it were, in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it was rock and roll and blues and a touch of bluegrass, and so Woody was certainly in that mix. And the more I listened, I certainly didn't pick up his what feels like a pretty unique finger picking pattern, the way he plays. But I think a lot of what's really cool about Woody is the message, and also, like, he just seemed to be having fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain amount of it that just seems like he wasn't constrained by like songwriting convention, or he just wrote what he saw, what he liked, what he felt, and that, I think, is as good of an influence as you could think of.
And that's sort of the approach you take to songwriting?
Well, yeah, usually it's what can I see, smell, hear, what ticks that off. I don't typically write without a guitar in my hand. Usually I like to think around a guitar and come up with some pattern or some vibe or something and then I'm just, usually first verse is all about mood and setting, it feels like. Because generally I don't even know what I'm writing about at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, the Nashville way is, oh, we have this hook that's interesting. Now, what should we write? I usually write it backwards, where I just start writing stuff and narrative, I guess, and then I just figure out, oh, okay, what happens to these people in this song? What do they do? What's their motivation?
Would that be true of a song like "Crazy All the Time"?
That's probably one of the ones that I actually wrote backwards.
Okay.
Where I had the hook, and I was like, I deal with crazy all day, and then I'm just like, okay,
Crazy all day.
Yeah, same difference. And I had a guy. The last show I played, the very last show I played on, like, it was like February 9th this year, and this guy came up to me after the show. He goes, "You know that song, I Deal with Crazy All Day?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Great song." I'm like, "Thanks." He goes, "But think about this. I deal with crazy every day." It was just so, you get these like weird interactions with people sometimes, and it was pretty much like he was really sold on, like, it would be a way way better song that way, and maybe like people will weigh in on that, but there's an extra syllable in there that feels awkward to me. When I wrote that, I think the thing I was the most surprised at, because I walked around for 6 months going, I deal with crazy, like, I knew the cadence, I knew how it should feel. But at some point I was like, why am I wasting my time? I'm going to Google this, and there's going to be like 72 songs with this exact thing. And there was nothing. And the line came from talking to a customer service person. I said, can I ask you a crazy question? They said, go for it. I deal with crazy all day. And I went, like, I wrote that down and just walked around for 6 months thinking about it. Like, some songs like Woody, the song for Woody was "Oh Woody" was written for. There was a 75th anniversary of the Bonneville Dam, and they had this big celebration of people in period costumes and a guy giving a speech who was like a Roosevelt guy. He gave the exact same speech that Roosevelt did, and they all dressed up in period clothing. And so they had a song contest associated with it. And I wrote like 14 verses of how the salmon runs had like been destroyed by the dam and basically flooded like all this Native American land and like basically, U.S. colonialism against the natives and the salmon population. And I thought, well, that's not going to win any contests. So and there's still parts of there. There's still parts of it. Like at the very end, I say, to the effect of one of these days, like the dam is, it's all going to be underwater eventually. The Roosevelt interpreter was given the speech, and he said, it cost $1 million to build that dam, and he just went, $1 million? They can't put in a sidewalk in your neighborhood.
Oh, you want a stop sign? We need to bring in the engineers.
Yeah,
that's where the trouble begins.
We're going to need to see if there's any arrowheads under that. But normally, I'm giving you all examples of things that I didn't do that way. But like Columbine was one of those songs ever since Columbine, where I started hearing CNN on in the background saying there'd been a shooting in Wichita right on the heels of one in Kalamazoo or vice versa. And I was like, man, when is this going to stop? And then I started writing that song. Last week it was in Kansas. Today was Michigan. And so then I started writing it, and I'm like, it's not my favorite topic to sing about. Mm-hmm. So I sort of just went, I'm not sure I really want to do this right now. And then I thought, no, you kind of have to. And so I did it. And I've had some folks say that it might be my best song or most important song. And it's for sure recorded for the next record. And there's fiddle on it to make it sadder than it already is. It's a moving song because it's not a wag your finger and say you shouldn't do this or you should do this. It's that same feeling in your gut and this sort of numbness and helplessness every time you flip on the TV and go like what happened in what school, where, what, why? Like it just, and you just feel like this should stop. Like at some point this should, and it took a pandemic to apparently slow it down, but it's.
Have you pulled any new songs out of the various issues going on?
Again, I think it's been good. It's been good for in the weirdest of ways in the pandemic to sort of just have a reset on my songwriting and how I feel about that sort of thing. And it's good to every so often be able to walk away from it and. Oh, maybe I'll get an electric guitar. Just something.
Hey, if you appreciate this content, please hit the subscription button down below. Please ring the bell for notifications of upcoming episodes. And you can visit us at charliesopenmic.com and find our Patreon link to help support the show.
Something to believe, maybe it's God for you, and maybe you think that everything's a lie. Lord, I hope that isn't true. Some folks live for personal wealth, hallelujah, forever coin. Some folks just believe in themselves and they carry it in their groins. 'Cause we all need, well, something to believe. 'Cause we all need, well, something to believe. all need, well, something to believe. Sunday comes and the faithful rise and they're rooting for a football team. Oh, they keep the faith as we fall behind, 'cause we're living the American dream. 'Cause we all need, well, something to believe. 'Cause we all need, well, something to believe. 'Cause we all need, well, something to believe. Some folks that turn to booze and dope just to get them through the day. Or some go to church 'cause they still got hope, and then they get on their knees and pray. 'Cause we all need, well, something to believe. 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 'Cause we all need with something to believe. Maybe it's God for you.
Hey, thanks for watching Charlie's Open Mic this week, and thanks to Dan Weber for joining me for a little conversation and song. Always good to catch up with a good friend. As always, please hit that subscription button down below. Please ring the bell for notifications of upcoming episodes. You can visit us at charliesopenmic.com and find our Patreon link and help support the show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.